Greetings, fellow armchair Imagineers. Tiki here.
And Blue Dragon 5.
And Jacob Gulliver.
Yay, it's me.
Ladies and gentlemen, as we find ourselves on the cusp of Disney's big venture into the world of streaming, even courting a war in the process, we thought it'd be nice to stay up to date on the ever-growing catalog and rule on what's a must or a bust on Disney Plus. And tonight we're talking WandaVision, the series finale, aka the episode where Doctor Strange didn't show up and everyone got mad.
And here to voice that outrage.
Yeah, Jacob, how you holding up? How you holding up, buddy?
I'm doing fine. I knew it was a distinct possibility he wasn't going to show up. But
I mean, it's always like a 50-50 shot at the end of the day, but, you know.
Yeah. Oh, well. Yep. 2022 cannot come fast enough. We'll just
That is true. That is true. There's always, Spider-Man.
We got a big name drop, We got this. It might not have been the Sorcerer Supreme we're thinking of, but it's a Sorcerer Supreme.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Jacob, just to hype you up a little bit, you are one of the biggest Doctor Strange fans I know. You were hyped as hell for the original Doctor Strange movie. You loved it. And of course, going into all this multiverse stuff, going into WandaVision, kind of continues some of the weird kind of cosmic magical elements of Doctor Strange and kind of veers them into a new different direction. Jacob, you are our bookend this season for WandaVision. Mm-hmm. You were on the first episode and now you are on the last episode. So I am very curious. Do tell, what are your overall thoughts and vibes? And also just to shout out the comments, guys. We got a lot of comments here. Most of them are from Donovan Martin. Donovan, we'll try and get to as many of them as we can, buddy.
Good to see you, Donnie.
We also have Honeybee in the comments, and also Claude Karinga, who I'll tease this. What Claude is saying in the comments, this is going to be a super hot take, all right? Like a piping hot take. And then I'll hand it over to Gulliver, all right? Think Pietro is Ralph. That honestly might have been my favorite moment in the whole finale.
Yeah.
We'll go from there. Gulliver, what are your thoughts on the show as a whole now that you've seen the complete picture?
I think it's a really solid piece. I think they did a really good job of setting everything up and kind of, playing on the assumptions. Just sometimes something that, the Marvel movies do really well, but they kind of gave us the opportunity to see the rules being rewritten. They established the rules, and then the next episode, those rules were revealed to not be the rules anymore. And they kind of repeated that process and kept, bringing that concept closer and closer to showing us what the actual rules were. And I think that structure is fascinating to watch. It reminded me a little bit of like comic book version of The Good Place. I don't know if you guys are familiar.
Oh, I love The Good Place. Yeah.
So I need to watch it. Yeah,
it is kind of like The Good Place. Now you bring it up.
I got Lost vibes from it.
Sure, just much more payoff here than with Lost.
Oh, no doubt. Yeah. But I'm saying like kind of like what you were mentioning with the kind of like the layers. It's like, oh, there's a hatch, and then there's a secret company controlling the hatch, and then there's a secret company controlling the secret company.
To quote Abed Nadir from Community, I got a DVD of the last season or the first season of Lost. It represents lack of payoff. Yeah, that's my all-time favorite sitcom, or sitcom maybe, but like real world TV show. Anyway, enough about that. I think, overall they did a really good job kind of resetting those expectations. They did a lot to, tease various different Marvel inclusions that we may or may not see tied into greater MCU. And given that this is basically the beginning of Phase 4, we're being given a lot of room to work with and room to make guesses about what's going to come next. But I think if the past is any indication, I think we're in for some really interesting stuff down the lane here. The only like downside of that is because so much of those little seeds are being established. It doesn't feel as satisfying of an end particularly for Wanda, who's basically in kind of the same grief state that she was at the beginning of the series.
Yeah, that's a problem.
Except that she, has unlocked this new tier of power throughout the process. So that's a little bit frustrating, but I'm curious to see where they take it, and maybe they, make her go the villain route. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. I'm, very, very open and willing to, the many possibilities that this holds, and bringing the Darkhold into it does definitely like connect to a lot more of the arcane world of Marvel. So fingers crossed that Doctor Strange plays a big role in the rest of Phase 4.
All right, Dragon. We were following closely, and of course, we tried to do a live reaction, not a live reaction, but a Skype reaction.
Just a terrible idea.
It didn't go well.
It blew up in our faces. I hated the idea. He didn't listen to me, and we wasted the whole night.
But Dragon, after I assume watching it again after that kerfuffle, what do you think of it?
I thought it was a very fitting and satisfying end. I love the experience that kind of kept you guessing the whole way. In a respect, you have obviously one character is missing in Doctor Strange for sure, like the one almost certainty of a cameo we were expecting this whole season. I guess, like nothing is certain these days, I suppose, so it's kind of egg on our face, but, it's like, come on, we know what this
I honestly think the Paul Bettany thing is kind of like the root of a lot of fan disappointment. Paul Bettany is, he kind of pulled a Tom Holland there with the whole, like, oh, I've worked with someone that I've always wanted to work with. It's myself.
Yeah. But here, look, ultimately, we know we're going to see him again. If not next year, then again. But he's going to have some.
He's got a movie on the slate, and we know Wanda's going to be in said movie, so that interaction's coming.
Well, we're going to give him before that too. I mean, we know he's going to have a role in Spider-Man. We don't know how big the role is going to be, but we know he's going to be in there. I mean, assumedly he's going to be kind of like the Marvel-y kind of mentor figure to Spider-Man. Some people are speculating, kind of like the worst case scenario being one more day. I am not of that mindset. I think it's going to be like he's going to go to Doctor Strange for help, and then he's going to say, "No, I can't do that. What are you crazy? I can't." You know how many people be upset if I did that? Mordo's breathing down my neck with the whole "the bill comes due" thing. I can't do that. Anyway, but yeah, we're going to get him at some point, possibly Loki as well. So the point is Doctor Strange is on the horizon. But I love how it kept you guessing the whole way about, Wanda, villain or no, because, she really goes through kind of the gambit of, kind of doing the heroic thing of, heroes, sacrifice what they want most. I mean, obviously there's a penance to be paid, which definitely gets paid very tragically. But, it's, I thought it was very emotionally satisfying, and of course gave me some wish fulfillment stuff. So I was very satisfied with it. Ultimately, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for me, I think this was a pretty bold and ingenious way to start the MCU Phase 4. And just when you think that Marvel's out of ideas, like, oh, Endgame, they can't possibly go on after Endgame. Well, yeah, they can, folks. Like, they blew the door wide open in terms of possibilities. And that's the most exciting thing about WandaVision for me. Having said that, I will say I wasn't totally stoked for the finale. It was satisfying. Satisfying is a good word for it. And I'm not even like disappointed because of the lack of big reveals or wow moments. Because honestly, I think at the end of the day, it kind of counts more in the story department. And the story department, it definitely delivers. What I was disappointed though with was the fact that it did kind of become your stereotypical kind of like big beam in the sky, shooty and fight. We subvert that a little bit with the Vision stuff, and I appreciate the Vision stuff, but that whole second act of the episode was just a little too much fight for me. And also, I was not satisfied at all with how most of the side characters were. They just kind of got like one more moment apiece. Like it really goes to show that they were kind of just like exposition machines and didn't really have a ton in the grand scheme of the story. Besides Monica, who I'm sure she'll be the best part of Captain Marvel 2 when we eventually get to that.
Jimmy got to do another magic trick. What are you talking about?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, though. It's the one moment. I don't really.
How funny is it, just in retrospect now, that Jimmy Woo gets to do like the close-up magic when we have a show all about magic?
Yeah.
Right. All right, so that's my take on it. I'm maybe a tad bit more lukewarm on it than you guys, but that's pretty much per typical.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Everybody's got opinions. It's all right.
Yep.
All right, Dragon, would you mind? Because we got a ton of stuff going on in the comments. Can you steer me towards some good talking points here?
All right, well, here's something relevant we should cover because Donovan really wants us to mention. He keeps clarifying this, and it is a valid clarification. So Donovan says, before that, they filmed a cameo. Apparently, it sounds like they might have filmed the Doctor Strange cameo at the last minute. It's most likely going to be worked into probably the Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness film and/or maybe inserted into the Spider-Man No Way Home film. The point is, we're going to see that scene at some point, it sounds like, and that's a gutsy move if that's the case. I remember getting to the first mid-credit scene of this episode. I was thinking, you and I had that moment of, oh God, it's not bad, but people are not going to be happy. People are hoping for fantastic. People are hoping for Reed Richards or again, very expectedly Doctor Strange, and we get a scroll.
People were hoping for Krasinski, man. Literally, they were doing fan casting in their head for Reed Richards.
But I was watching that.
At that point, I feel like the fan speculation is a little out of hand, and you're kind of setting yourself up for disappointment.
I mean, the mid-credits.
Go ahead.
I mean, the mid-credit scene in itself is a nice kind of reward for the Monica Rambeau character. She's grounded, and for the whole season.
I'm satisfied for the maker. I keep saying that Monica Rambeau, one of her biggest contributions is, in addition to the obvious one of just being a super strong, woman of color in the MCU who has powers and kicks ass. I think that's extremely valuable in its own right. But I feel like she's going to really elevate the Captain Marvel IP with her presence, and I'm excited about that.
They fixed that movie, and she's not even there.
Right.
I still love Captain Marvel, but that's
I mean, look, I like elements of Captain Marvel. Unfortunately, Captain Marvel herself is kind of the sticky wicket of that film for me, but But tomato for sure. All right, let's see. Should we lean into some of the White Vision stuff?
Sure. Wherever you want to go, my friend.
Okay, well, let's start off with Donovan early in the show. He says, "I love the temporary vision, the temp vision, or the dream vision, however you want to label that." And White Vision literally conversed and had basically conversed about where they're how they're dissecting their technological makeup. Basically, the whole ship of Theseus debate, the whole thought exercise of the ship of Theseus. I love that scene so much, because you know me. I love how Vision's dialogue is so on point, especially when he's fully suited up in this show. When we get pretty much one of my favorite scenes of all time in Ultron with him having that a thing isn't beautiful because it lacks.
Yeah. The Ultron thing was exactly what came to mind when I was watching, and I was like, oh, they're pulling an Ultron, great.
So that's also just a rant about that for a moment, okay? Because I'm not going to throw shade at our commenters, heavens no. I'm just saying, there was a lot of, oh yeah, they confirmed James Spader. I'm sure they heard that from somewhere. I'm not faulting the commenter, but it's well, that didn't happen.
Yeah.
So we're looking forward to that. And then, of course, there's a big question oh God,
I was convinced my Hayward theory was so on point, man. I was so convinced.
A dumb theory. How the heck could Hayward be Ultron? Come on.
I don't know how, but I know that it would make sense with his motivation to bring back Vision and use the Vision for his own means. I think that makes sense in the context of
There's a lot more evidence of him maybe being Mephisto than there was him being Ultron.
All right.
Anyway. Okay, point being, so the whole Vision versus White Vision thing is framing it as a debate versus, we had some cool action. We had not so much fighty fight, but phasey phase action going on. That was awesome.
And they phase. But yeah, you're not wrong.
But I love how in this conversation they're both like Frankensteins of the original Vision, and we just have that kind of that Theseus question of like, wait a minute, if you take all the boards off, is it the ship? Well, no, neither are the ship, but neither are not the ship either.
I genuinely think Vision is one of the most fascinating characters in the whole MCU because when you trace the roots back to like he was there at the very beginning, he's literally one of the first voices you hear in the MCU with Jarvis.
Yep.
And just it's so trippy to think that now we've had like all these different incarnations of him. We have White Vision, we've had regular Vision, we've had Jarvis, we've had the conjured Vision that Wanda creates. It's so trippy to think about all these different. But Ultron has a little bit of Vision in him in his own right. Like it's so trippy.
Certainly. And of course, we now have a backdoor way to revive the Vision in the future, with the restored memories and everything.
I hope they go the comic book route with it, and it's a slow burn of a process to get that.
I imagine so. I think Vision's going to come in maybe, assuming Wanda is the villain in Multiverse of Madness, I think Vision's going to be, the White Vision coming back is going to be the thing to save her. I think that's how that's going to end up.
Yeah, we'll see.
I mean, we'll see. I mean, I'm just saying, like, ultimately, like, if there's a question, like, oh God, do we kill Wanda or not? White Vision comes and saves her bacon.
Yeah, I could see that.
Just like they first met. Well, pretty much like that big, hero moment in Ultron where Vision saves her.
Sure. Okay.
The moment with the two debating in the ship of Theseus, just to circle back briefly.
Yeah.
I love intellectual heroes.
Oh yeah,
it's one of the biggest reasons that I love Doctor Strange.
Such a Tom King Vision scene.
Right, but just the idea that, like, it's important to show heroes who are resolving conflict using their brains and their social skills and not just punching the other guy harder than they have been punched.
So rare. And again, I love that our Vision clearly is at a disadvantage, as we see when the hex goes down for a bit. Our guy is not doing so well, so he really had no chance in that fight if you really think about it. But it was like the only proper way they could kind of come to an arrangement. It's perfect.
Yeah, and it's also just this great like moment of, Vision, the Dream Vision, isn't trying to like trick the other Vision at all. He's just saying the truth. And he realizes that this might be a Pyrrhic victory for him too. So, like, it's not a deception. It's not like,
They're both trying to figure out who they are. That's really
exactly.
What it is.
Yeah. So it's just so delightful to see that and see, the
Vision quest going on, one could say.
Right.
Yep. It's a dumb joke. Let's see.
Okay, I want to get to this. All right.
Sure. Yeah, go on.
Think Pietro's Ralph.
Go on.
You know what? I love the Iron Man 3 reveal, and I love this just as much. Haters gonna hate, bro. All right, but
that's something he would say. I believe it. Yeah.
This was such a great troll on Marvel's part that I don't I don't even care. That's a little bit of a missed opportunity to bring Evan Peters. Like, I don't care because it's such a big troll. And what I love about it is that it's a double whammy of it's a troll on the Quicksilver side of things, and then it's also a whole troll on the whole, like, my husband Ralph, who may or may not be Mephisto. It's like, no, it's like literally the husband Ralph thing and the Quicksilver thing. It's all just some guy, and it's just it's so good. It's Trevor Slattery 2.0, and
it's a Growing Pains reference. Remember his full name. It's Ralph Bonner, or depending on as he lives off of Ralph Boner, and of course that's a reference to the Growing Pains character. Hilarious. Well,
so I don't know. I can totally see how it's divisive. Totally.
One thing I really wish they clarified.
I don't think most fans like it. But for me, I can appreciate a good troll, man.
I'm with you. I loved it.
I wish they clarified just a hair more. I mean, I'm assuming this is based on, hey, there's paperwork with the guy's name on it. I assume that Ralph is Jimmy Woo's, is the guy in witness protection that we had not seen on the board or anything up to that point. Because I mean, that's really the only person it could be, just given what we given what we have. I don't think it's Harold, the guy with the mustache, because we saw him.
It's kind of confusing how he does have powers. Like, did Agatha give him powers?
No, yeah, remember the little thing around his neck. That's
yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, she like did her little. She demonstrated the thing with the fly into the bird, and that's basically what that kind of charm did, essentially.
Okay, I hear
you. Yeah. Well, I have another. I'm gonna string something along with the whole with your Mandarin comparison. I'm gonna save it for later.
Ooh, okay.
All right. So let's see. Of course, Monica. I love seeing Monica team up with the boys because she's very linked to these kids. She helped bring them into this world, and she's like Auntie Monica. It's cute, It's like, hey, nice powers. Like you too, yeah. It's like, oh, it's really nice to see him. Just and of course, Hayward's such a prick. He's shooting at kids. This guy deserved more than a funnel love truck, slamming him in.
Mm-hmm.
And in this moment, it does become very Incredibles-esque, where it's like the ant with the superpowers and the family of supers fighting alongside each other against a threat that's like vaguely government controlled.
Perhaps we should we talk a little bit about Agatha?
Because it was Agatha all along.
Well, of course.
And I killed Sparky too.
Oh god, it's great. Yeah, so think about this. This was such a great payoff to last episode where we opened with the whole Salem witch thing, and basically this is a great payoff of both that Salem witch opening. We see her origin. Basically she becomes a magic sponge, and Yo Magic, which was kind of all about that whole magic sponge thing. Basically my real revelation was watching it for her, saying, "Oh God, she was the shark all along. Not only Agatha, she was the shark that early 2000s commercial."
Right.
So, it's just I love seeing Agatha. Traditionally she's like the Scarlet Witch's mentor, and very much you're the reluctant mentor to Wanda. Trying to kind of. I love that she kind of tries to broker the arrangement that we speculated she already had towards the beginning. She's, hey, look, I'll let you have your little piece here. Just, let me siphon off your powers. You get to have your little piece of home here, and we'll just call it even, because she's terrified of her, really.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I think that, Jacob, are you familiar at all with The Walking Dead?
Not really.
Sorry,
but that's okay.
It's
I don't
all good.
Care about spoilers. I read a decent amount of the comic when it first came out, but then it was like 10 years before the show came out. So,
all right. So anyone familiar with Walking Dead,
noped out.
I think they pulled a Negan with Agatha in terms of like she's a.
They gave her a spiky bat.
No, she's a big threat.
They cast her as a DILF.
Oh God.
Oh. That's not right.
All right, hear me out. So Negan's arc ends with essentially
Laura's
Rick Grimes
really
just like,
in the other room.
oh my god, wow. All right. I'm not even gonna finish my Rick Grimes point. I'm not.
And that's what you get.
He gets taken prisoner. So it's like, he's like kind of chained up in a basement, like kind of Hannibal Lecter style. They go to him when they need him, and that's kind of how I feel about Agatha.
I love Agatha's comeuppance in that regard because, basically on the rewatch, it seems clear to me that she's going to be trapped in normal Westview, but as the nosy neighbor sitcom trope, and it's going to be like we've seen what a couple days has done to those poor folks. But
I need to see Doctor Strange interacting with her.
That's going to happen.
That is what I hope the cameo that they film that's going to be in front of the movie is, man.
Like Doctor Strange is looking for the Darkhold and says. Just basically interacting like he's like the neighborhood doctor or something. I don't know, something weird.
Yeah, that'd be funny.
Oh, a magic show. We had one of those a couple days back or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
Make my husband disappear. That's something ridiculous.
But I forget. Like it's pretty early on. It's like probably like mid-60s Doctor Strange, but there's a plot line where he's trying to catch another magician who is like assuming people's identities and then like stealing their money or like stealing from them. And there's this plot line where he's also like assuming other identities to go undercover, and there's a part where he's like a talk show host, there's a part where he's like a zookeeper. It's fucking bonkers. It's super wild. So I can see that having a comic precedent Why not?
Okay, well, speaking of the Agatha stuff, I want to bring up the Darkhold. This is pretty big. Gulliver, you know about the Darkhold.
This is
right?
one of the things that you were reacting to, and I was like, I don't really know what's going on. It looks
Gulliver,
cool.
I assume Gulliver knows more intimately the Darkhold than I. I know pretty much. I know its media appearances. I know the surface level stuff about the Darkhold, but
right. Well, in a lot of ways, it's kind of been used as like a MacGuffin for evil magic.
Pretty much.
There's a lot of kind of connections to the sort of like Necronomicon or like the sort of book of magic in many ways, the forbidden ritual book, and it's something that almost used all across the Marvel universe. Sometimes
it's like the original dark
he
magic in the
it's-
Marvel universe.
He's doing this crazy thing, or exactly. Or, the Mandarin's got it, and he's doing this crazy thing. Or
like Dr. Doom has it run.
Right, yeah, exactly. Dr. Doom's got it, and now there's hell demons everywhere with Doom masks.
His mother was a gypsy. We're doomed.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's it's kind of had its origins changed and its contents changed a bunch over the years, but whenever it shows up, something bad happens. So it's going to be something that they're going to put their own spin on it, and it's going to we're going to be getting a new established canon. It's not going to be something they're pulling from a book, because that's what happens every time it shows up.
Yeah, even when it's adapted too, because it's been in the MCU somewhat been in the MCU. This is the third appearance. So here's the thing. So I know a lot of people are saying this is proof the other ones didn't count. Well, you know what? It's like basically the cover of the book changes. All right, it's not that big a deal. Iron Man gets a new suit every movie. We update the wardrobe, Vision's outfit slightly. We keep I think we've just changed the aesthetic cover of the book, and hence the reveal and stuff. I don't really think it's that big a deal. It had a really big role in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. in that Ghost Rider season. And it's in the Runaways. It's like, our magic characters, and Morgan Le Fay's in that season. So the whole magic thing with the Darkhold there. So I'm saying that Darkhold fell eventually into Agatha's hands. I think it's pretty. I think everything they haven't technically drawn that line in the sand with these shows yet necessarily. So I'm still clinging on to hope. But a big thing with the Darkhold, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm James, tell me how do you pronounce this guy's name? Is it Kython or Chthon?
I would say Chthon.
Chthon, okay.
Yeah.
So Chthon is like, I imagine we keep hyping up the remember something was unleashed in this episode, Tiki. There's some they unleashed some
like Cthulhu.
Yes, like Cthulhu, pretty much. We've unleashed something bad when of course Wanda became full blown Scarlet Witch, and it's speculated it could be the guy who essentially is responsible for the Nexus being that is the Scarlet Witch is a Scython. The Scython, traditionally, I want to say when he was dying, he basically imbued, he kind of in some ways rebirthed himself, or kind of reincarnated himself within the Scarlet Witch she was being born, as the twins are being born. It's essentially, I think, how it's kind of a roundabout way of which it happened in the comics, if I recall. And well, I mean, this guy's like the harbinger of all that chaos magic stuff and the Darkhold and so on and so forth. So basically, the forces can be unleashed. It could be that guy, it could be Mephisto, or it could be Nightmare. All very possible threats for this Doctor Strange movie coming up, I'd figure.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
could very well be.
If I recall, the way it works in the comics is chaos magic. I did a little bit of a deep dive just to try to verify this. If I'm right, the chaos magic, when used, especially in a massive, like a whole town's worth of like spreading that too, when chaos magic is expended in the world, it threatens the stability of a universe, which again kind of would probably lead to a multiverse of madness when that much is used and the stability of the universe itself is in question. Perhaps like certain lines are being blurred, certain universes are melding together. I think all this is kind of jump started that. So yeah, perhaps Scarlet Witch being set up here. If I'm a betting man playing the long game, perhaps these kind of knock the dominoes down that eventually brings in Kang the Conqueror. Perhaps like, hey, reality's in time, reality, space as all we know it, and all these Loki shenanigans have kind of threatened everything. Time for Kang to come in this Ant-Man movie. Kang's time to play. Yeah. So we have comments. Okay. Is it Lord of the Rings fan or am I?
Yeah.
It
yeah,
looks
it's a combination of Lord of the Rings and ER.
Lord of the Rings ER fan. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Lord of the Rings ER fan says, who gave Wanda her powers? Again, possibly the Scython character, ultimately. And then basically the Mind Stone in the MCU, as they're framing it, basically unlocked all the potential in her that she had as a kid, saving she and her brother from the Stark missile. Or kind of probability, let's just call it a mutation in quotes for the moment.
Mm-hmm. Miracles.
Yep. Age of Miracles.
Yeah. Wink so loud you can hear it.
Oh, speaking of winks, so I get it. Gulliver, were you as excited as I was when we finally gave her the outfit? We gave her like the full on kind of their.
It was pretty great. Yeah.
I think it's the James Robinson look. I just started that book, but like they gave her it looks awesome. So I saw that crown. I love the crown. Made so much sense too because it's like the Atlantean kind of magic thing the other witch had, but it was red. It was awesome.
Yeah, they did a good job of establishing that way, and like in the sequence where she first tries to defend herself and it kind of appears on her head in a that was very cool as well.
Yeah.
All right, I want to talk about a sequence that Donovan brought up because I think it's one of the it's probably the most emotionally palatable for me, the town square.
Dottie's epic return, yeah.
Oh my god, yeah. I mean, she had a payoff, dude.
I loved all the payoffs in this episode, man. When we brought Dottie back, and basically we cut the strings from the meat puppets, as Agatha puts it. We got to see. Remember, you and I, we were marking instead of instead of an angry mob, it's a sad mob. That's even worse. Like they're all let's burn the witch. It's not that. Like no, we're terrified of the witch. Please, oh mighty witch lady who runs the hex, let me give my daughter some role in your little sitcom world so I can hold her again, please.
Yeah.
Terrifying.
Yeah, that to me was like the kind of the most satisfying payoff out of all the stuff that we got in the finale. In terms of it was kind of Wanda sort of dealing with the ramifications because we've seen Vision kind of deal with it. We've seen we've seen Wanda have some standoffs with with the military and everything like that, but we haven't actually seen a humanistic quality to the ramifications until this point. And man, it is haunting, and I think it is a good payoff.
Yeah.
Just to clarify, a Lord of the Rings ER fan asked, right, but who did she see when she touched the Mind Stone? Yeah, that was basically a vision of basically this moment that we just saw in the episode, like a vision of her becoming, with her as the full-on Scarlet, kind of like her Dark Phoenix vision, if you will. Forward. Yeah.
To the future.
Yeah. Let's see. Oh, I love the runes payoff, by the way. I love that Tiki in all that fighty fight. I love that when Wanda's blasting whatnot, she's targeting to
better. So good. Not just punch harder than other guy.
Yeah, you're right, Gulliver is being smart. I love it. Yeah. Awesome. And again, it's kind of
interesting that it's interesting that both of the main fights start off that way. It starts off and they fight. Mm-hmm. But then by the end of the fight, they both kind of come to really interesting, clever, dare I say, Doctor Strange-esque conclusions.
I came to bargain moment.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yep.
One of the great climaxes of the end. It's such an old school. It's so much that Fantastic Four going up against Galactus type scene. I love that defeat so well. So a big thing, Gulliver, tell me if you had this. So throughout the episode, towards the end especially, I'm wondering if there's potential for a happy ending because it occurs to me, okay, so she let the hostages out of the hex, which is good. And in theory, if she shrunk the hex to, let's say, a block or maybe two houses, Agatha and hers, perhaps she could keep things going, keep the family alive. One could say
do that though.
She didn't do that. Now here's what occurred to me.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be no real childhood for her kids. They'd be stuck to the house.
No.
And it's also a punishment for all the bad stuff she did. So ultimately, she went with the right thing. But I kept wondering, is there any potential? Please let it have a happy ending because it just sold me so much. I never considered this because she's shrinking the hex. And I thought, what if she just kept it? There's so much of the hex alive. But no, it's. It almost was even more heartbreaking with that great House of M homage where remember when everyone's disintegrating for a moment. They're pulling that cover with Wanda coming to pieces as for the kids in the vision. That was horrifying. My God.
Yeah.
Yeah, then we get some of those Emmy-worthy scenes towards the end there with the big goodbyes.
I mean, Elizabeth Olsen, I think, is just I think she's probably given the best performance by an actress in the MCU. Dare I say? Is that fair to say in this show? Like,
You mean her best material in the MCU?
no, I'm saying the best material by any actress in the MCU, by any female lead.
Well, I mean, Haley Atwell's done really great with Agent Carter, but I mean, I guess pretty much. I mean, it's about even there.
I mean, I'm just blown away by her emotional range on the show, being able to do the sitcom silly stuff so well.
She is amazing.
And then being badass Scarlet Witch mode, but then also kind of like, betraying the heartbreak so much. And like, there was so much range here. It was a roller coaster of emotion for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Speaking of which, I mean, like saying goodnight to the kids. That's a scene that like tears out your heart right there. And this whole like, thank you for choosing me to be your mother, which is just like, and just when you realize in the moment, like, oh gosh, this is her like not just putting them to bed. This is like kissing your darlings goodbye as the hammer's about to come down. Like, oh god.
Yeah.
We get some of that MVP Vision dialogue in the goodbye scene, the whole what am I scene. That what am I scene is one of Paul Bettany's best scenes in the series. My God, when he puts it in perspective like that, where he when he sheds that tear, which is like somewhat of an improbability, but again, it's a dream vision, so it can happen. It's he sheds that tear, and it's like I was a voice with no body, and a body but not human, and a dream made real or something made real. I wonder what I'll be next. Like, oh god, I love this whole like that optimistic view. Vision's always been such an optimistic character at his core. It's like, well, I wonder what I'm gonna be next. Like, I'm gonna be a real boy next. Who knows? It's gonna be, it's gonna work. I'm gonna be like it goes like.
He's just gonna come out as Paul Bettany, just human Paul Bettany. That's the end game for Vision.
How weird would it be if we end up with just like some future version of Vision that's just like a regular dude? So it's just Paul Bettany, like, wearing casual clothes. Just like, I don't have any powers anymore, but I'm still interested in hanging out with you all.
Well, it worked out for Professor Hulk, so anything's possible.
I'm still clever. Just don't blast me with anything.
Oh god.
That would be hilarious.
So he'd basically just be like the Avengers, like snarky British cheerleader.
See, I'm down for that. That would be hilarious.
Well, I'll remind you again. Those early days, you had Jarvis being the human butler at the Avengers mansion. So perhaps.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to date back Vision all the way back to that Jarvis, then you really technically could.
Like, what if we went the Oracle route with him? Maybe less Butler, more like he's the guy running the tech and the command.
Yeah,
like he's the voice in everyone's head, like Jarvis, but he's running from a command center.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, be kind of an interesting.
Cool too.
Yeah. Of course, the whole we're gonna say hello again sometime instead of like I know we've said there's Wanda cutting him off there. The whole we'll say hello again, which I mean it's beautiful. And this scene, of course, I think one of the best moments in the entire series is Wanda creating the house after that little heart on the deed to the plan plot.
Mm-hmm.
Just that, then of course the house all going back, and it's just. As I'm saying, this finale just had so much emotional punch, man. I knew it going into it, man. It's like, yeah, people are gonna have issues with the second episode. Wait till they get to the last one. Yeah. Just wait. Yeah. So we should talk about the last. Tiki, I'm sorry. Is there anything major that's going to jump out of the comments right now? Because I was going to bring up like the other post-credit scene.
No, go ahead.
All right, so the last post-credit scene is interesting. And Gulliver, I've done a cursory look at this. The Wundagore Mountain. Does that ring any bells? Wundagore Mountain?
Not off the top of my head, no.
Okay, so essentially, the post-credit scene we saw at the very end, which thankfully they had this because people have been really mad about the scroll thing, I'm sure. We see Wanda going to the kind of this mountainy area, and there's a little cabin. Now that mountainy area is in the comics is where the Scarlet, I believe, where the twins were born. There's like kind of an area around it was kind of their fill-in for Sokovia in the comic. I don't really think there was Sokovia. I'm pretty sure it wasn't Sokovia in the comic. There was kind of like it's like this place called Transia or whatever it's called. like kind of like a Transylvania-esque kind of Eastern European place. Anyway, Wundagore Mountain is this place where it's kind of like there's a lot of big magical stuff happens at Wundagore Mountain, and this is where the WandaVision comic had this, and it's they kind of go back to it a couple times from what I've seen at cursory glance. It seems like we're definitely doing some multiverse of madness setup here. She's doing like an astral projection form that's doing almost like a Doctor Strange pose, kind of like obsessed with the Darkhold and kind of reading all about, learning about herself.
I was curious if they were doing kind of a reference back to the brief scene in Doctor Strange where his physical body is asleep, but his astral form is studying. Where like Wanda's physical form is grieving and her mental form is consuming this power and, experiencing this new level of magic.
I think you're right. I think you're dead on with that. I think it's absolutely what they're kind of getting at there. The fact she's doing that without all those years of study too, which is without all that time of study.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Speaking of the multiverse of it all, I never considered this, but this would have been absolutely freaking hilarious. So imagine if Edward Norton's Hulk, not Mark Ruffalo's Hulk, but Edward Norton's Bruce Banner is like approaches her in these mountains, because that is kind of like similar to the last place we saw him.
Be proof that Disney has more money than God to get Norton back.
Edward Norton, Bruce Banner, just like being reintroduced into the MCU in a way that actually like ties the Incredible Hulk back into like a canon reason why they're distinctly different feeling characters. Oh man,
I would be super suspicious if he showed up. He's like, "Hey, Bruce Banner." I'd be like, "Nah, you're not pulling this me on a third time." right. Get out of here.
Let's see.
It's like Professor Hulk became his own character and then split off into Bruce Banner, but Bruce Banner didn't come back as Mark Ruffalo. He came back as Ed Norton.
Oh God.
Take you back to your Mandarin there. This is what I was saying, but I was alluding to earlier with your whole Mandarin point. So anyway, Scython. Essentially, as I mentioned earlier, he passed on his magic to Wanda. Now, at some point, he came back to life, and in the comics, from what I just kind of found out, is that he possessed Quicksilver. Like Quicksilver came back to life. And I think that's how we're gonna. I think if we do this Scython guy, we're gonna bring him back as Aaron Taylor Johnson.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I mean wouldn't that, because again we've set up the body is kind of like sitting there in the ruins of Sokovia somewhere.
Can we just keep one MCU character dead?
But I'm just saying
I'm just saying at this point I'm happy with it being Quicksilver, because I do think it has led to long-term ramifications for Wanda and has made her a more interesting character. But can we just keep that one dead?
I mean, look, fair point, but I'm just saying if people want to see Aaron Taylor Johnson that bad, I think that's the way you bring him back. It sounds like if we just go the full Scython guy that we kind of set up in the background.
Who actually wants Aaron Taylor Johnson back, though?
Well, the people that weren't happy with the Ralph thing, Tiki.
All right, fair enough.
He was good.
He was good.
I didn't have any issues with him in the role. He was maybe a little bit more like, traditional Ken doll body shape than I imagined Pietro being, especially with where he's a bit more of a beanpole.
Mm-hmm.
But, other than that, it was.
Well, he's fast. He doesn't need to be buff.
Yeah,
I mean,
he was snarky and he was quick, and that's what counts.
All right, let's see a few comments here. Claude's asking, where's Agnes now the Hex is destroyed? Again, as Agnes,
that's a good question.
She's living, assumedly she is, she's just in Westview. I mean, I guess, I don't know that's Ralph's house, though. That's what I don't get. I don't get where she's going to be in Westview, but she's living in Westview.
Her and Ralph are still just like husband and wife.
And they're still in a cartoonish domestic violence relationship. Right on that border of problematic. that she
Yeah.
references early on.
Exactly, if you hit it right on the head there. Thanks. Yeah, she's in Westview in the sitcom Trance. Yes. Right, also, there's been again some potentials going forward. Potential like the High Evolutionary. I know very little about the High Evolutionary, but again, he kind of ties in that kind of that Wundagore mountain thing, and against all like kind of the basically against like a lot of magical stuff is kind of over Wanda's shoulder right now. It's kind of the vibe I'm getting. Like that's where like Magneto also found him too in that mountain range, which obviously the whole how we're going to get Magneto and all this right now. That was yet another kind of cameo thing kind of shot down. So we have no idea at the moment. No Cranston Magneto for us. But I mean, yes, as has been kind of talked up again, kind of the trilogy that no one ever expected. That we're getting here with WandaVision, Spider-Man, No Way Home, and Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. Yeah, I mean, it seems.
Yeah, that's trippy.
If I'm ballparking, I'd imagine again like the actions here probably destabilize. Assuming we go the multiverse route with Spider-Man, which again it's not necessarily carved in granite yet, but assumedly I think we're on the bandwagon of they're going to do a Spider-Verse multiverse thing with that Spider-Man movie, and if they do that, it would make sense to connect them like this. Or okay, Wanda starts all this stuff and destabilizes the universe, which in fact creates the multiverse that we see started in Spider-Man. Then it turns crazy and mad, full on. We got to fix it. And Doctor Strange. That's how I think they're linking those together.
Could be.
At this point in time. So we get that Loki show and that just says, you're wrong.
I feel like we're missing like a huge piece of the puzzle with like what they're doing with Black Widow and Eternals.
Right,
like,
right.
Those are such wild cards right now in terms of like, I'm guessing that Black Widow is set like before the events of most of the MCU.
Yeah, it's set. What they said is that it's set right after Civil War. It's between Civil War and Infinity War.
Okay, so then but there's no way that Marvel is not going to put something in there that ties into the rest of the Phase 4 stuff, because that's just their MO.
Well, I think I know what it is, though. I mean, again, this is I'm pretty sure we're going to pass the torch of Black Widows, and that Black Widow is going to appear in some of the other Phase 4 stuff. I think that's the element you might be looking for.
I feel like in interviews they've said that that's not what they're doing.
Oh, okay.
It could be wrong. Who knows?
I mean, it was old info. I'm saying the thing's been delayed for so long. I remember that being announced, and now, I mean, again, we're taking potential Doctor Strange cameos out of this. I don't know what's happening.
Yeah, but yeah,
Buddy
Eternals
has
is just gigantic wild card for like.
I'm really worried for Eternals.
I've heard that like Marvel is really, really happy with it.
That's what I've heard too.
But I mean, I don't know if that's true or not. So
I think WandaVision is going to be a big help for Eternals, though, because again, we've kind of hooked America on suburbia and kind of emotional catharsis kind of mixed together in there. I think that's going to help the Eternals. But I'm saying, like from on paper, it's like so the Eternals. I mean, lesser known than the Guardians was to an extent. And the problem is the Eternals, like it was like had like the instant like, okay, hey, had things gone according to plan, we get Black Widow and then the Eternals, which people are going to see because it's the Marvel name. But again, all that time passing and now all this stuff on Disney Plus, it's like, hey, we're getting all this stuff that's connected to a universe we know, and then the Eternals, what is this? But the Eternals does have an A-rated cast, though. They got a great cast, like Brian Tyrese Henry.
The director is most likely going to win the Oscar for Best Director this year. So there's that.
Wait, who's the director on that?
Chloe Zhao.
Oh. We have some casting in the comments here from Claudia. Claudia he says Giancarlo Esposito as Doctor Doom. Never has a better idea. Just been lit up right there. Oh my goodness! Yes,
yeah,
Giancarlo as Doctor Doom.
That's
yes,
I'm not gonna lie.
Love it. Awesome. And let's get Cumberbatch in as that Director Thrawn. That's not director, as the Admiral Thrawn character.
I'd be down.
And let's do it all.
All right.
Unless you see anything else, Tiki, I mean, I guess we should just round it up.
Yeah, let's. I think I pretty much said my piece on everything. You guys have any final words?
No, not really.
I just
Dragon,
think
Just hyped.
why don't you come out with a final statement to sum it up for all three of us? You're good at that.
all right, guys. I think we're truly lucky to have kind of been able to bear witness to kind of a revitalization of television in a sense, because WandaVision, again, in the namesake, it's kind of like we kind of went on a journey that we invited into our living rooms, irrespective of how we're streaming it these days. We've kind of like we found a way to bring TV into the home, but also just in the creation of a home that Wanda did. It's about just kind of like. Again, like as we've kind of has kind of been joked, like mainly by me, I guess. House of M is at an E in its home. That's what we're all in search of. House of M. Again, it was such this monumental event. Now, whether of course it was like a straightforward House of M or not, it could never be because we don't really have mutants yet. But we can't get rid of mutants. We don't have mutants in the first place. We knew it was never going to follow that precise model. But it kind of evoked all the kind of the scope and the images and the hype of all that. And again, one could say, a lot of people have said. As you kind of hyped up in the description, Tiki, you said it's been a little bit of a divisive finale, and again, some people are expecting a bigger like Doctor Strange thing because everyone's speculating for weeks on end of like again it kind of the show benefited from that water cooler thing, but also it's a bit of a double-edged sword at the end of the day. There's just no avoiding that. Where it's like I think maybe it would have helped if we had those 3 episodes instead of the 2 at the top to sell more people and just get them on board, but that's what it is. But that it's said and done. But the fact is, like you're watching that show, it's so addictive. You want it all at once, but then it would not have the longevity that it does. It's kind of like a ship of Theseus, sort of like how can we have it all but not have it all at the same time? It's just. It's the human experience. At the end, just to kind of pull the obvious quote, thing isn't beautiful because it lasts. That's kind of what the show is. People want more. People are talking about season 2. We have something beautiful. We have something set up. Wanda goes to Westview to build something beautiful, and of course ends in tragedy. And she leaves Westview, kind of in the same state she entered it, still grieving. Because grief is not a band-aid process. It doesn't wrap up cleanly like a sitcom. That's what Wanda learned the hard way. That's what the show is. It's something kind of beautiful, something kind of powerful. I'm so glad we had all of our friends in the comments to go on this journey with us, pretty much week to week. So it was quite the special endeavor. I want to shout those special people out now while we can. So let's get Donovan Martin, love him. Claude Coringa, A-OK in my book. Got Honeybee, love ya. We got Lord of the Rings ER fan, glad to have you. And Executive. Top level, top shelf stuff there. Oh, seriously, it's been, of course, a wonderful guest joining us here, too. The wonderful, the incomparable Sorcerer Supreme of all things Doctor Strange, Jacob Gulliver.
I'm taking off an invisible hat.
Nice.
To show my appreciation.
All right.
Where'd you get that hat done, man? It looks nice.
Thanks. It's my own creation, magic, Sorcerer Supreme, all that, whatever.
All right, well, that'll do it for us this week as we holster our remotes till the next installment calls for the draw. Mano a mano, just Plus and Us.
It was Agatha all along.
Dragon and Tiki will return for the Falcon and the Winter Soldier recaps.
Yeah!
Da, 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 da.
Dun, 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 dun.